Hi everyone, welcome back to the sewing workshop. I'm Marina from Frocks Frolics, and today we're going to transform a t-shirt into something rather spectacular. So let's get started with our t-shirt, and I hope you really enjoy this one. And the first thing I need to do here on my lovely or not so lovely t-shirt is to identify the middle. The way I can do my middle best is by putting the shoulder seams here on top of each other. Because I'm going to cut the neckline off anyway, what I can do is just snip it, okay? Obviously, if that was to be kept, then we wouldn't do that. And it would really help if I just had done that properly, right? Oh man, Marina. So now I need to actually mark it because I got up to find my scissors, and then that was that. And then I go to the other side and I snip that too. So now I know that is where I'm going to change my neckline. Next, I have to decide how low I want it to be and whether I want it to come over a bit. I like mine quite low, so I'm going almost the same height here as my armhole there. Okay, so I'm just going to go down from here, just in the grain of this thing, to there. I think that would be quite nice. And then I just draw it on one side that I want a wider neckline. So I can do the neckline. Don't be tempted to go like this out. You need to stay on this line first. You can always now come out a little bit more at that point, yeah? But kind of, it's almost like you're drawing a mini curve because that sits nicer on the body. Cut down the middle, exactly where I've drawn it. Ta-da! To here, and I can cut this off. And I'm just turning over the piece I just cut off, and I'm going to draw that one on. Tell you, if you cut it at the same time, if you're like me, it won't come out so well. Okay, so now that's done, I'm going to cut this away. The next step is to cut the back away. Now the back, I don't want to be too low. I want it to be a bit lower than that was, like to there. And I'm going to do exactly the same. I cut one side first, and then I can flip it over, and that way it's going to be symmetrical, right? So if I pop that on there now, all I need to do is cut along what I've already done. There we go. But I like a relatively high cut sleeve. I'm just gonna take this up, people, so I get like a really sweet shape there. Okay, so I cut that one off, and I do exactly the same on the other side. Already I think that looks hugely better than before. And then at the hem of my shirt, I want to attach a trim. So I've cut myself a strip, just a really, really long strip. And I'm going to put that on there and there. Now, I also think it would be quite nice if one of these strips in the front was slimmer and the back was wider, and I would just have a slit on the side. So how to do this is very, very simple. To get this right, I'm going to fold mine in half. So let's just make sure, so I know which one is the front, and that's my back. Whoops, there we go. To know how much we need this on the fold for the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like go a little bit over, so I have a little bit of seam allowance here. There you go. So that will be my front, and I mark the center, and then I put that one on, and I cut it so I've got my, well, roughly a centimeter seam allowance. Mark my front. If I put these now next to each other, I can see that the front is actually bigger. And like I said, I wanted the back to be longer and the front to be a little bit shorter. So I take my front, and I'm just going to cut away a wee bit. I think that's 2 centimeters or something. That just looks good to my eye, you know. I think these are quite fashionable at the moment, so there you go. Because the t-shirt length on this one was quite good, I'm going to keep to the same length. Actually, I'm going to go for 3.5. So I'm going to cut my 3.5 off here. It looks so much better already. I haven't even done anything with it. So then what we still need to do is we need to go on the sewing machine here. You might as well pin this now. And then I do the same for the back bit. Make sure the right side is on the inside. And we're going to sew on either side of that as well. A bit like the Vivian cuff, if you already made your Vivian dress. You know, that is a very simple method. Now, you probably already seen me do this on other things. The neckline here stretches really, really easily. So one way is to really stretch this while you're sewing it on, or to help yourself out, put a stay thread all the way around the neckline first. And I would suggest we do that because it makes it easier. I've actually extended my stitch length, and I'm going around because I'm very likely pulling this in a bit so it doesn't stretch. If you've ever had like a really horrible neckline, you know that this is so necessary. I'm going around, and again, I'm just sort of lining it up with that edge here. I don't want to go down by centimeter, I don't have to. And I sew all the way around with this longer stitch, which will help me keep the neckline nice and tight. Now to the fun part of the neckline. I'm going to actually pull this a bit because we all know how horribly they stretch, and when I go on some of the Facebook pages I'm on, people in the sewing groups, they say, oh no, what's wrong with my neckline? You know, you do with jersey have to be really, really careful. It does kind of stretch really badly. So I am just pushing this over to that side, not so it's bunched up or anything, but so it still lies flat. I just do that side from here. Whoops. So now that I've done the same on the back as well, and it's nicely sort of held in a bit, and if it steams all in like this, look, beautiful neckline. I could now bind this with anything. It doesn't even have to be jersey at all. You know, I could just use anything. It's beautiful. Anyway, next step, we've already sewn these babies up, so you want to get the pins out from here as well. And turn and press. There we are. Front and back are both done. Take the other strip as well and also iron that lengthways now so that it's nice and flat, because we're going to put this on. Try not to stretch your jersey because this just rolls up. Do that all the way along. Now I've done that, it's time to put strip on here. So I'm starting here, leave a long bit hanging there, it makes my life a lot easier. And because I've already now got my neckline as I want it, guess what? I don't have to pull this and then you have problem with how much you pull it. You know, all you do is you just pull it a tiny little bit, not like that, just a little bit. So you've got a little bit of tension there when you pin it on. And I'm gonna just do that on the sewing machine and sew it all the way around. For this here, front, I can do the same now. I can also get this on. So just where the seam starts, I'm going to put this here. Sure it's on there. And then move to the other side. Pop that on here. And we did measure it, so it should come out all right. And then, yeah, it's fine. Look at that. So grab the middle as well. Pin that on, and then the rest again I'm going to do just on the sewing machine. I'm putting this under now, and I'm going to just sew it on. I actually find I work better when I don't have these pins in. It's probably because I've been sewing for a very long time and you just learn to sew without pins. So I'm just going to remove them, but I mean, by all means, if you need pins, do them. So can you see? It's just the tiniest bit that you need to pull this. And I'm just putting it on foot width as well. You don't need a full centimeter seam allowance. You would only trim that afterwards with the overlocker anyway. So So now I'm just gonna stop here, leave it where I've still got a little bit standing because I want to work with that one, and I can just cut it off there. On the sleeve I'm doing exactly the same, only I haven't pinned it first and I haven't held it in. You don't really need to do that on the sleeve. So because of that, I'm going to pull it a little bit more here. There we go. All the way around so that it's nice and smooth and, you know, doesn't, right, pull it a bit more because we know that this jersey really stretches, the white stuff, so I don't want it to look funny after. So and do the same again. I'll just stop before the end so I can join them nicely before I actually sew it together. So I'll cut generously. Now I'm also just going to sew on this jersey all the way around. I'm going to sew it from the other side for a bit of interest. There we go. I don't think it matters too much which side. I'm just thinking, oh, maybe I can grab it a bit better like that. With a little bit of stretch on both of them. When you come to this part here, you don't want these to be gapy, right? So it's already pulling apart because that's what jersey likes to do. I'm going to make very sure I catch them. So I've actually opened that one up to there, and then I make sure that this is underneath it, right? Because that's what will happen, no doubt. And I'm going to take my pin and I'm going to hold it there and then go over it, cord, see? And then that's it. So now I'm just going to sew these together, and I want to make sure that wibble they fit nicely so you can see where it needs to be, like there. And now I'm just gonna sew this together here. So now it all looks really scrumpled up, which is exactly what you want. And we can now remove that stay stitch and just pull it all out, because we have now put our jersey on just right. There we go. Release that. Look at that. Now we can see how good that neckline's going to be, because by the time you steam this, worked it, stitched it down, it'll be stretched again. Yeah, that's what happens, like that, and it'll be perfect. But what happens when you understitch is, in this case, we will stitch everything, the whole lot, to the actual t-shirt, so that when we roll this over, it's really easy to do. You also want to really stretch this while you're doing it. You do not want this to be too tight, okay? Or you use a slight zigzag or something. Some people like using that. I just gonna go and stretch it. And you do that on the neckline as well. You take that seam allowance, you roll it this way, and then you can stitch it on here. Or you can stitch from here. It doesn't matter which way around, as long as you stitch it into the t-shirt. It's going to lie over to the outside, so we don't want the stitching to be on the blue, we want it to be on the white, right? So now when we look at this, you can already see that actually the neckline is wider again. Just through working it, I've done my understitching, so the stitch line is to be seen here. And then now the last thing is to roll this to the outside like that and create a really good rim. This part here will always like want to peep out, so good thing to cut these babies back, these bad boys, as Jamie Oliver would say, cut these bad boys back. There we go. There we go. Anyway, now I can just sew this to the other side here. I roll this over so none of this is to be seen. I would recommend that you press this down because I think that makes life a lot easier, like that. Lovely. And if you want to, just to make sure that it's right, you can put a few pins in strategically as you go around. And again, I'm going to press it flat. And then I'm going to roll this to the outside evenly. So, you know, it's like a little bit of a turquoise rim there. So you can always check that afterwards, see if you've done it right. And that's going to make a super nice neckline. It really is nice. It's a bit more work intense than what you normally see in t-shirt DIYs, but oh, I do it to myself, don't I? I can never do something super simple. Now I will try to do something super simple one day, but there's enough people doing that anyway, so I'm gonna have to do the neckline first before I do this, simply because I've run out of thread. So we're going to go on the sewing machine now, and we're going to stitch close to the edge with a stitch length which is slightly bigger than 2.5. I'd say 3 probably is good, or even 3.5. When you're sewing, you want to make sure that you sew from the side that you know, from the inside always. So I've turned it inside out so that the right side is now on the inside, and I'm going to put my stitch length a little bit higher, and then close to the edge, 3.5 I've got actually, I'm going to stitch this in. You want to make sure you take the pins out before you get to them, not because they will break, but because the stitching will be uneven. And I'm lining up with, I've got a little red line in here on my Fab machine, so I can line it up with that as I go along so that it's even all the way around, because it's easy not to get it even. You might want to do the needle down position, that also works well. Take out the pins as you go. The key for good sewing is really not to look at your sewing machine needle. It's one of those things that people do, especially when they start sewing, but by the time it's at the needle, it's already too late, isn't it? If you made a mistake, it's already happened. That's a corner I'm concentrating on, nothing else. Again, I'm pulling the fabric slightly, don't want to hold it in anymore. We've done it so it's a little bit tighter than it actually should be, so that when we work with it and do all this, it comes back out and I'll never be a stretchy, horrible neck. So, also I hope, we'll see when I put it on, right? You'll be the judges. Be kind to me though, no nasty comments. Don't forget to secure your thread, and voila, all done. Oh, nice. Now for my sleeve, I'm a bit naughty because I work in this new workroom and it's so hot in here that I can hardly breathe. I don't know how people work in this sort of heat, but it's about 30 degrees outside and this is like an oven in here, so I want to finish this. So I'm not even pinning this, so this is how I work when I'm on my own and nobody's watching. It's like really fast. So I've just put this over the arm so that already stretches it, so I don't need to worry about that, and make sure that I do it evenly. And I go all the way around. I don't pin very much at all anymore when I do my sewing, only when I absolutely have to. So if you hold in stuff, then when you stretch it, it'll just go back to where it needs to be and it'll just look really nice. I pull it out, look, and now I've got a super cute, you know, still some stretch in it, but definitely not too much. Here I've now overlocked the inside as well, so all I have to do is iron this upwards, really. iron this all in. I could stitch it down as well from the outside. It might look quite nice, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to turn this up. Anyway, I think it's very cute. Now I need to just press all around the neckline. And again, while I'm pressing it, I'm stretching it again, as you will when you're wearing it. Make it nice and flat. When I do necklines, my necklines are never ever too loose. If anything, they're too tight. So I'm going to give this a good stretch. And this stuff really does stretch, so better to be too tight to begin with than too wide. So I do this from all sides. Lovely, and so cool. Look at that. So I'm going to now put this in as you would a t-shirt on your ironing board. And now I'm going to steam to kingdom come. Wow, look at that. Now that's what I call a very nice neckline. Of course, I've done this really wide. The wider you make it, the harder this will get. Just a word of warning. But it does look really cool. Now this is again not so easy to iron because it doesn't want to go there. So gotta open it out and say, no, no, you are going to go where I want you to go. And there you go, I couldn't wait. I actually had to try it on straight away, and it is very nice, even though I say so myself. So let's take this out of the way. So we've got the little split there, which I think is quite nice, and of course that needs to go away, and I'm hoping it will. I've got a bigger neckline. Yeah, I think I'm going to be wearing this again. Anyway, we've come to the end of this one, and I'll see you next week again. We'll do something different. I'm going to start on collars, I think. So if you've got any particular wish for that, then do let me know, because I'm getting out of here. This is an oven, my workroom now. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 30 degrees outside, and I have no idea what it's in here, but I'm getting out. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.